What a difference time can make. And that is definitely the case for Paul Kariya. Tomorrow night, Paul Kariya's jersey will be retired by Anaheim. Anaheim in their 25th season with these brand new alternate jerseys that I'm predicting will probably become their main jerseys at some point. At the very least, these alternates should stay for a while. But Paul Kariya comes into the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. He never actually played for the Anaheim Ducks. He played only for the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. They became the Anaheim Ducks in 2006, the year they won the Stanley Cup. 2007, related, maybe not, whatever. But Paul Kariya was a top draft pick, and he was a highly thought of prospect. And there was always that Vancouver portion of hockey fans who thought he should come play for the Canucks. And it never happened. The local kids never come home and play for the Canucks, it seems. Anyways, I've also got up here on the board the money. Because what's kind of forgotten now, we're to the point where it's been so long since Kariya's career that you forget. He was once considered a very greedy young man. And he was considered to be a whiner, too. 94-95, he plays 47 games. This is a lockout shortened season. 18 goals, 21 assists, 39 points. Makes $2.82 million as a rookie. Not bad. 95-96, plays 82 games. 50 goals, 58 assists, 108 points. Statistically, probably his best season. $2.2 million that year, $2.27 million. 96-97, he played 69 games, 44 goals, 55 assists, 99 points. Now, if you're looking at points per game, that was his best statistical season. He makes $2.075 million. November 13th of 1996, Matthew Schneider hits him, and he gets a concussion. Now, there are concussions that aren't on the board. The major concussions are on the board. He ends up with 6 in his entire career, and it does loom over him quite a bit. And I think of Crosby when I look at this career, because Crosby's been healthy for a long time, but we know it's still there. It's a ticking time bomb. And so he has the concussion. He ends up playing 69 games as a result. And then coming out of that year, great year, he held out for more money. And the Ducks played hardball with him. And they ended up settling on a 2-year, $17 million contract. They prorate it. He comes back. He makes $5.5 million that year. But February 1st of that year, Gary Suter hit him pretty hard and ended up with a concussion from it. He only played 22 games that year. The vice president, Brian Burke, who was in charge of that suspension, gave Suter 4 games. Said if he had known the extent of the injury to Paul Kariya, he would have given Suter more than 4 games. We are still at a part, though, where head injuries, but Kariya has started already talking about how there needs to be longer suspensions for head hits. And he said there's a lack of respect among NHL players. Because that respect isn't there, we need to have longer suspensions, so at least they're worried about the length of the suspension. And this is 20 years ago. This is when you got a lot of... There's a lot of fighters in the game, and here's Kariya saying there's not the respect in the game, and we need to have longer suspensions for head hits. So, worthy of note. 98-99, he plays all 82 games. He's healthy that year. And they tout how healthy he is. $8.5 million he makes that year. He scores 39 goals, 62 assists, 101 points. All is well. He's fine. Then he gets a huge contract. Huge contract. 99-2000, played 74 games, 42 goals, 44 assists, 86 points. $10 million he made that year. $10 million. And again, this is where when they're not making the playoffs or they're making the playoffs and they're out early, it's where's the $10 million man? I don't see the $10 billion man. Where's he? 2000-2001, 66 games played, 33 goals, 34 assists, 67 points, $10 million again that year. He has wrist injuries starting to affect him as well, and ankle, and you name it. He can get hurt a lot. But during this season, Selanne's traded to San Jose. And Selanne is credited with a lot of the fantastic seasons that Kariya put up. That the two of them together had an unreal amount of chemistry. And Selanne being traded away hurt Kariya. Because in 2001-2002, he plays 82 games, 32 goals, 25 assists, 57 points. $10 million. So again, now we're talking about a guy who's got 57 points, made $10 million, and there are plenty of people saying he's not worth it, he's overpaid. He's one of the most overpaid players in the league. And of course, there are others who are reasonable saying he's going to have a bounce back year. Does he? Kind of. 2002-2003, he plays 82 games, 25 goals, 56 assists, 81 points. Again, $10 million. And, of course, in the 2003 playoffs, they go on this incredible Cinderella run to the Stanley Cup Final. In Game 6, he's hit by Stevens. Was it a clean hit? Depends who you ask. Kariya himself saying there was an elbow in there. Ducks coach saying, hey, that was a late hit. And the Devils saying, that was fine. Does this sound familiar to anybody? No? All right. And this was the hit that really took him out. And the thing is, he got up. He missed about 4 minutes of game time. He came back in, and he played, but he doesn't remember that game. And that's where it's scary. That's where the concussions get scary. He played a game, doesn't remember it after. And then his career ends in Anaheim because he had to be given a $10 million qualifying offer as a restricted free agent by the Ducks in order to retain his services. And looking at that total, Brian Murray said, yeah, sorry, that's too much money. We're trying to build something in Anaheim. We're trying to, get towards being a contender. And if we have $10 million locked up with one player, it's going to be hard for us to pay everybody else. So Kariya, no $10 million qualifying offer. He goes unrestricted free agent. What does he do? He says, well, I can go a number of places. Almost anybody's, making offers right now, and there's a lot of good offers out there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Colorado. I'm going to get together with my buddy, Teemu Selanne. And the other thing is, because people talk about greed and this and that, I don't really need the money. $1.2 million is all it costs for the Ducks to bring him in. And it was about $1 million for Selanne too. It was criminal. At the time, fans, myself included, were like, are you kidding me? The Avalanche are already a contender. They just added Selanne and Kariya for less than $3 million for both players. This is absolutely wrong. And there were people that said that the NHL should have stepped in. This was at the time. Because we all expected now the Avalanche were an all-star team. They were going to run everybody over. They still had Sakic. They still had Hayduk. They still had Forsberg. This was stacked. But it doesn't work out that way. He only plays 51 games that year due to injury. He only scores 11 goals. The wrist injuries, I think, led to his goals being a problem. 25 assists, 36 points. Ducks fans were not happy with him for leaving town. We're going to see a retirement of his jersey tomorrow night, and it's going to be fantastic. But Duck fans weren't very happy with him when he came back. And I think of last year where Bure had his jersey retired by the Canucks, and Canuck fans weren't always nice to Bure after he had left either, and when he'd make a return to the city. And Ducks fans raised some money as a result of reports that Kariya had given Teemu Selanne $3,000 for scoring the game-winning goal against the Ducks in a game earlier that year. This is apparently common practice, that if you go from one team to the other, when you play against your former team, you'll give money to the guy who scores the game-winning goal against your former team. At any rate, this was a disastrous season. It didn't work, and it was followed up by the lockout. So during the lockout, Kariya says, "Okay, I'm out. I'm out. I'm not going to play for a while." He did have, and I should have mentioned it in the 2002 season, he did have Olympic gold in 2002. And interestingly enough, there was a belief back in '98 when Suter took out Kariya that maybe he was trying to take Kariya out before the Olympics. Do I believe that? Do I believe Gary Suter? No, I don't. But it's one of those things that fans will look for that conspiracy, and sometimes players and management will look for that conspiracy. Anyways, so he did get gold in 2002. He was part of a fantastic team then. And that's during a season where he wasn't really himself for assists, but he did have the 30 goals. So we come out of the lockout. And with people wondering just how healthy is Kariya going to be, there are 10 teams that send him offers. He chooses Nashville. Says, I like the fit in Nashville. His first season, 82 games played, 31 goals, 54 assists, 85 points. $4.5 million is what Nashville pays him. Considered to be a bargain for what he does for them that year. Going into year 2, they changed the roster around, maybe in part because he said he felt that they had a weakness down the middle and their toughness was lacking. Either way, they end up getting he ends up playing all 82 games that season as well. 24 goals, 52 assists, 78 points. And again, $4.5 million is the amount of his pay. So he leads Nashville in scoring both years. Why would he leave? He left because there were all kinds of rumors about ownership coming in and moving the team. And he doesn't want to sign somewhere long term when he's not sure if the team's going to be there. And long term back then was 3 years, not 8. And so he moves on. He moves on to St. Louis. St. Louis gives him a 3-year, $18 million contract. He hasn't missed a game in 2 years. His first year in St. Louis, 82 games played, 16 goals, 49 assists, 65 points. So again, he doesn't miss a game for the 3rd consecutive season. He's healthy. Everything's great until it's not. 2008-2009, he only plays 11 games, 2 goals, 13 assists, 15 points. All the injuries over the years add up, even if you're playing through them, much like with Zetterberg this year in Detroit, all of a sudden out of nowhere, seemingly just gone. 2009-2010, he plays 75 games, 18 goals, 25 assists, 43 points. December 27th, Patrick Kalata, that's the death blow for his career. Elbow to the head. Gave Kariya his 6th concussion. And even though he did play 75 games that year, he's no longer the Paul Kariya of 50 goals back in 95. He is a shell of that player. And he sat out all of 2010, 2011 with post-concussion syndrome. And his doctor told him, you're done. You better retire. And so he did. And Kariya has also been on the record saying that his biggest fear is that a player will be out there with a concussion. While they already have a concussion, they'll get hit again and they'll die at center ice. So Kariya coming into this wonderful thing tomorrow night where he's going to have his jersey retired. It's amazing. 989 games played, 402 goals, 587 assists, 989 points. But I use Paul Kariya in 2 ways. One, he was one of the best players of that 10-year period from 94 through to 03-04. Amazing 10-year period. He was awesome for most of that, and there were injuries that affected him along the way. But there are definitely players in the NHL right now of this caliber who could be the next to come out and say, I could have played longer if not for head injuries. So he's an amazing story and an amazing talent and a cautionary tale at the same time. One of the most electrifying players, no matter what team he was on, even during that bad season with Colorado. And it was a poor season by any standard. He still had moments during that season where he was Paul Kariya. He was fantastic. He had a reputation for being greedy, right or wrong, and now all of that is forgotten. It's 2018, and it all gets forgotten quickly, it seems. So I will say this for sports fans: we are quick to anger, and we seem to be quick to forgive. So there's that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below, as always. Your favorite memory of Paul Kariya. For me, the 03 Stanley Cup run was fantastic, and it is a shame with how that got ended. It was brutal, but he really was never quite that same player after that. But that being said, he had 81 points in 2002-2003, and he had 85 with 31 goals in 05-06. So when we say never the same player after that hit, to some extent that may be true, but he did have three seasons of 82 games played after that. So you always take that with kind of a grain of salt, but it definitely shortened things. And he doesn't hit 1,000 games or 1,000 points, and that's criminal. He should have hit both. And if he had played during the current era, I think he would have been a Duck his entire career. I think with the way salary structures are now and with the 8-year contracts and everything, I think he would have been a Duck his whole career, which would have looked a lot nicer on the board than Avs and Nashville and St. Louis. Nothing against those logos or against the teams that cheer for them or anything, but if he had just been a Duck his whole career, it probably would have looked better. But once again, let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.